Typhoon Haikui hits China, Fuzhou city submerged. Guangdong Reservoir releases floodwaters, homes flooded, echoes Hebei tragedy. Resistance. Student uprisings reported in Henan province, with teachers sitting in protests. 700,000 villages in debt nearly reach trillions. How did China's small villages, big debt emerge? Has the CCP regime become a nervous wreck? Antispy campaign leaks state secrets. U.S. Secretary of Commerce is warning to Beijing, U.S. companies losing patience with China. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Typhoon Haikui hits China, Fuzhou city submerged. After Typhoon Sayola's departure, Typhoon Haikui follows closely behind. The China Central Meteorological Observatory predicts that Hikeaway, now downgraded to a strong tropical storm, will make landfall in the Jiangpu area of Fujian to Huilai in Guangdong on the morning of September 5. Due to the impact of Typhoon Haikui, Fuzhou City in Fujian Province has been hit by extremely heavy rainfall. The Fuzhou City Meteorological Observatory issued a red rainstorm warning, leading to the closure of all primary and secondary schools as well as kindergartens in Fuzhou. Videos shared by local residents on social media depict the severe flooding in Fuzhou. The entire city appears to be submerged, with streets resembling rivers and numerous vehicles partially submerged. Pedestrians are seen wading through waist-deep waters to reach safer locations. Another video reveals an underground parking facility in Fuzhou that is completely inundated. Vehicles are trapped in the passageways, and the swiftly flowing water is washing over the ground. In Yongtai County, Fujian Province, at around 4:15 a.m. on the 5th, a fire truck from the Yongtai County Fire Brigade was dispatched for a rescue mission, and was swept away by floodwaters, carrying 9 people on board. As of 8 a.m., 4 individuals have been rescued, while 5 remain missing, and search and rescue operations are actively ongoing. Before that, on the afternoon of the 3rd, Haikui first made landfall in Taiwan, causing a total of 116 people to be injured. Some roads and bridges collapsed, and in many areas, large trees, billboards, and buildings were damaged. Among the affected areas, Kaohsiung suffered the most severe damage, followed by Taitung. In the early morning of the 4th, Haikui left Taiwan and headed towards China. Guangdong Reservoir releases floodwaters, homes flooded, echoes Hebei tragedy. On September 3, multiple reservoirs in Guangdong's Yunfu City and Luoding City simultaneously released floodwaters, leading to widespread flooding. The urban areas turned into vast expanses of water, with residential buildings submerged. Some vehicles were completely submerged by the floodwaters, with only their rooftops visible. Many people waded through water as deep as their waists, evacuating on their own. Local residents exclaimed, "The reservoirs are releasing water. They're releasing water." This sight has left many people worried about the potential repetition of the flood disaster that occurred in Hebei at the end of July. It submerged the city of Fuzhou in a deluge, resulting in substantial human and property losses for the residents in the area. Meanwhile, on September 2, an unprecedented hailstorm struck Ulankab City in Inner Mongolia. Streets were flooded with water measuring over 1 meter deep, and numerous vehicles were submerged in the icy deluge. Video footage shows multiple cars partially submerged in water over 1 meter deep, with chunks of ice still floating on the surface. A man is seen pushing a vehicle through the waist-deep ice water. Resistance. Student uprisings reported in Henan province, with teachers sitting in protests. Recently, rather than staying silent and enduring as in the past, there has been a growing number of protests across all levels of Chinese society to stand against injustices and seek justice. Most recently, a protest involving thousands of high school students has captured public attention. In detail, according to various videos circulating online, on September 2, a student movement erupted at the First Senior High School in Yongcheng City, Henan Province. The cause of this protest was the school's arbitrary decision to change the originally scheduled 2 weeks of classes followed by 1 week off system to a 3 weeks of classes followed by 1 week off schedule, which ignited strong dissatisfaction among the students. Initially, students used large posters to voice their protest, such as "Fight to bring back our week off" and "The first senior high can't be without a week off," just like the West can't be without Jerusalem, and Shandong can't be without Qingdao. However, the school authorities covered these posters with numerous newspapers. This eventually led to a significant number of students gathering at the school building to protest. A handwritten protest document circulating online stated that the school authorities covered not only those posters but also silenced the collective voice of over 5,000 first senior high students. Over 5,000 first senior high students stood in the middle corridor in front of the bulletin board. As soon as a poster was placed on the bulletin board, the students would cheer, and within a few seconds, the bulletin board was filled to capacity. After the evening self-study classes, students began to gather in front of the bulletin board, expressing their dissatisfaction with the school authorities, and the situation is still escalating. According to online sources, in response, the school administration deployed teachers at the bulletin boards to intimidate and videotape the protesting students. Consequently, all the large posters were torn down, a few students were apprehended, and the school leaders, feeling both angry and embarrassed, demanded a review of the surveillance footage for some of the protesting students, expelled non-local students, and disciplined local students. This event has garnered significant public attention, and the majority of people are expressing their agreement. "Great job, students, it's impressive that they know how to advocate for their rights." A user with the username Legacy of the Two Song Dynasties provided an analysis, stating, "Similar incidents will become more common, and it won't be limited to just students. People from various backgrounds will participate. Don't assume that a gathering, without directly shouting the CCP step down, Xi Jinping step down, or without explicitly proposing a change in the political system, is a futile assembly. As long as people come together, any possibility can emerge." Teachers sit-in protests. Also in Henan Province, Luoyang City, on September 4th, more than 100 teachers at the first senior high school in Mengjin district went on strike and held a sit-in protest as soon as the school year started. The reason behind this is believed to be that the school hasn't paid salaries for several months. Additional videos show another group of people, possibly outside the school gate, with dozens of individuals participating in a peaceful sit-in protest. Many passers-by are observing the situation. There are also reports that teachers from the second senior high school in Mengjin district are also staging a sit-in protest demanding their salaries. Currently, almost all related videos have been deleted from the mainland internet. Notably, public information shows that both Mengjin First Senior High School and Mengjin Second Senior High School are considered Hunan Provincial Model Regular High Schools. In recent years, the financial situation of local Chinese Communist Party authorities has continuously worsened. In some economically underdeveloped areas, teachers not receiving their salaries has become a common occurrence. Henan Province is one of China's most populous provinces, but it is economically less developed. For example, in May of this year, 34 teachers from a publicly funded school in Sanmenxia City, Henan, started a hunger strike protest because they hadn't received their salaries for 4 consecutive years and no staffing adjustments had been made. They also published their statement online. Since last year, teachers and civil servants in many areas have experienced rounds of salary reductions, and some regions have demanded the return of previously paid bonuses, which has also caused dissatisfaction among teachers. Not only in Henan, in June of last year, teachers from Yantai Economic and Technological Development Zone Senior High School in Shandong went on strike collectively because their salaries were halved and they were asked to return part of their wages. They gathered at the school to protest, and a large number of public security and special police forces were deployed to suppress the situation. 700,000 villages in debt nearly reach trillions. How did China's small villages, big debt emerge? According to a recent report in Chinese News Weekly, experts who have studied various villages across China in recent years have found widespread village-level debt issues, affecting both developed and underdeveloped regions across the country. Many villages are grappling with debts nearing $1 million yuan, and in the most heavily indebted villages, even small populations of 1,000 or 2,000 residents can accumulate debts reaching tens of millions of yuan. This problem, known as small villages with large debts, has become a critical issue in rural China that cannot be overlooked. A Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs survey from the first half of 2019 revealed that among the 700,000 administrative villages nationwide, the total village-level debt had soared to 900 billion yuan, approximately $123.335 billion US, with an average debt of 1.3 million yuan, approximately $178,150 US, for village-level organizations. Experts emphasize that these debt challenges pose a significant barrier to China's rural revitalization efforts. The origin of the three debt mountains. The report classifies these debts into three categories: traditional village-level debt, developmental debt, and operational debt, with the latter two forming part of the new village-level debt category. Traditional village-level debt refers to collective debts accrued before the comprehensive abolition of agricultural taxes from the 1990s to 2006. Farmers faced tax payment difficulties, and village collectives covered their payments. Some farmers have since cleared their tax debts, but others remain indebted. Before the tax reforms, China's village-level debt was estimated at around 360 billion yuan. Developmental debt primarily comprises unpaid project final payments owed to various contractors and is largely interest-free. Some villages are still repaying old debts from decades ago. Operational debt consists of loans from local rural banks, credit cooperatives, and wealthier village elites, typically with interest. Unlike developmental debt, operational debt can trigger chain reactions as local authorities invest in income-generating projects, leading to increased debt. Regardless of the type of debt, impoverished rural areas in China struggle to repay. Data from the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs in 2019 indicated that many rural areas earned less than 100,000 yuan annually, with most earning around 50,000 yuan, approximately $6,852 US. To overcome immediate challenges, many financially disadvantaged villages seek the assistance of capable individuals to manage fund allocations, a practice commonly referred to as begging for help, or huaiyuan in Chinese. Due to the rural area's inability to earn money to clear their debts, many villages still pursue project applications, applying for development projects, hoping to acquire funds through this to repay the debts from previous projects. According to Mr. Liu Duan, a professor at the School of Sociology at Wuhan University, the more applications there are, the more funds the village has to allocate as a match. This creates a harmful cycle where increased government investment leads to higher allocations of special funds, resulting in a greater village-level debt burden. Professor Liu termed this behavior as formalism and suggests that such projects should be avoided in the future. Additionally, according to a report from mainland China's first financial website in June, data from official sources and securities industry statistics indicate that local governments issued a cumulative total of 3.5 trillion yuan in bonds during the first 5 months of this year. This marks a 6.6% increase compared to the same period last year, underscoring the ongoing deterioration of China's local finances. The report highlights a significant increase in fundraising through refinancing bonds by local governments this year. These bonds are typically used to repay maturing debt principal, essentially following the practice of borrowing anew to repay old debts. The report estimates that this year represents a peak period for the repayment of Chinese local government bonds, with approximately 3.65 trillion yuan, approximately $499.88 billion US, due for repayment. Has the CCP regime become a nervous wreck? Antispy campaign leaks state secrets. On September 4, the New York Times reported that China's anti-spy campaign is widespread, leading individuals and institutions to sever ties with foreign contacts. Experts view this as a significant challenge to the legitimacy of the Chinese Communist regime. In detail, videos playing repeatedly on high-speed trains caution passengers to be careful when taking photos and sharing them on social media to avoid inadvertently leaking sensitive information. Government agencies responsible for daily resident affairs display posters on their walls reminding people to strengthen the national security and the people's defense lines. In Yunnan province, a local government released a video featuring men and women dressed in traditionally ethnic clothing joyfully dancing to promote China's national security law. The performers sang and danced while emphasizing that failure to report information will result in legal pursuit. Protecting criminals will lead to imprisonment. Additionally, a more structured anti-spy education initiative has been implemented. The Chinese National Administration for the Protection of State Secrets has introduced online secrecy training accessible via mobile phones. Many universities and companies have made this training mandatory for their employees, even if their roles appear unrelated to national security, such as university sports departments and veterinary colleges. The initial lesson starts with Mao Zedong's quotes underscoring the importance of secrecy, followed by a lesson warning about the potential manipulation susceptibility of foreign-made iPhones and Android devices. The report highlights that due to last year's white paper movement, many participants were university students confined to campuses, making young people a particular concern for authorities. Now, with many young people facing unemployment, the authorities attribute their dissatisfaction to external forces inciting unrest. The proposed solution is to educate young people to enhance their vigilance. Universities have established student informant systems, where student informants are responsible for reporting undesirable behavior, including accessing foreign websites. There have been at least 2 instances in which Beijing University students were questioned by police or school administrators after communicating with New York Times journalists via WeChat. The New York Times suggests that the core result, or goal, of this campaign is to make any contact with foreigners a reason for suspicion, even the most trivial connections. This has already affected the cultural sphere. Furthermore, some scholars no longer meet with foreigners, and cultural venues across China have canceled performances by foreign musicians. Some Chinese citizens also question the constant vigilance requirements. A recent ban at an airport in Henan province prohibited Tesla cars from entering the airport parking lot on the grounds that vehicles from this American company could be used for espionage. Some social media commentators have asked whether Boeing planes should also be banned. Regarding this matter, Professor Chen Jian, a specialist in modern Chinese history at New York University, told the newspaper that the initiation of an anti-spy campaign reflects a profound challenge and crisis to the legitimacy of the CCP regime. He noted that advocating for mass movements bears some resemblance to Mao Zedong's extensive campaigns aimed at solidifying his personal authority, with the most notable being the Cultural Revolution. During this period, Mao Zedong targeted counter-revolutionaries, urging people across the nation to report on their teachers, neighbors, and even family members. This tumultuous decade-long cultural revolution threw China into a state of turmoil and bloodshed. U.S. Secretary of Commerce's warning to Beijing, U.S. companies losing patience with China. U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo has just concluded her visit to China, during which she met with Chinese Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao and Premier Li Qiang, among other officials. She told CBS News on September 3 that China, the CCP, is making things more difficult. Raimondo mentioned that before her visit to China, she personally spoke with over 100 American business leaders and labor leaders. They told me that even those who have been operating businesses in China for decades, these are experienced people skilled in handling issues like intellectual property theft or non-market behavior. But they said that now, doing business in China has become much more difficult. During her visit to China, Raimondo also raised the new challenges that American businesses are facing in China with CCP officials, including arbitrary fines, surprise inspections, and the CCP's new version of the anti-spy law, and the American business community claim that China has become unsuitable for investment. The U.S. Secretary of Commerce issued a warning to the Chinese government that American companies are becoming increasingly frustrated with conducting business in China. If the situation does not improve, they may seek opportunities in other countries. On the same day, during an interview with CNN's State of the Union program, Raimondo pointed out that during her visit to China, she directly mentioned to Chinese officials that her email had been hacked before her trip, but Chinese officials claimed not to be aware of the incident. She stated that putting this issue on the table is important to let Chinese officials know that it is difficult to establish mutual trust between the US and China when China takes such actions. Raimondo also stated that China requested the US to reduce export controls on advanced technology and rescind executive orders related to new investments in advanced technology in China. Raimondo said she rejected these requests, stating, "We will not negotiate on national security issues." Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.